if you put in timeline as a search and then follow it with read, write, think,
It's in there.
you're going to get there.
Isn't there a link?
Was there a link?
Yeah, I used
Okay.
on the website.
There's a link?
No, you gave us a link on, that you were just, you said my God. Yeah, I think.
Okay, you got that? Okay. This is free. Huh?
I think there's a link in there.
Is it the one that's under the tool that we click on?
The tool.
Let me close this and make sure. Yeah. Read, write, think, timeline tool.
Yep, that's it.
Click that and it opens it. Okay? The one we used to pay $60 for, Timeliner, was really not much better than this, and this is pretty good. So you can organize by date, by time, or by event. So I can think every discipline out there would be able to use this. What they want is your name, and you really can't get past it without putting in your name. So you can be Mickey Mouse or you can be whoever you are. And they can then you put in a project title. So if we were doing this one on inventions, which would be nice, but I feel short in time.
We can play a little bit with it.
Okay, you could put in inventions. Okay. Then click the start button, and it's really very much a no-brainer here because it tells you exactly what to do. It says click or tap the timeline to edit it. So when I click a spot on the timeline, it immediately opens with a window. And you're going to put a label, what happened. Then you're going to put a short description. And the short description is going to show up here. The full description would only show up if you print all this stuff out. But to just look at it online, the short description is going to show up. And then you can preview it just to see what it's going to look like. So you were wanting, oh, I was going to say,
Sorry.
it disappeared. So for instance, I don't know,
1959.
1959. What happened in 1959?
Barbie was born.
Okay, so if you want to start as a label, 1959, Barbie was born.
Oh, wait, so the label.
The label,
What happened, it's the time.
correct.
I missed that, sorry.
Or it could be the event, or it could be a date. This is a date. It could be a place. It could be an event. And you'll see how it arranges in just a minute, okay? So the preview shows you what it's going to be, all right? You could also attach an image to this. So if you had an image of a Barbie doll, you could put that in here. But I don't have that right now, so I'm just going to click the check mark. Now once it's there, it's attached to my pointer, and I can put it on the bottom or I can put it on the top. I think this activity called for inventions to be on the bottom and history to be on the top. So I can leave that there, and then I can move my circle that marks it to the timeline around too. Okay, so I can have it top or bottom. And then if I want to put another event in, I can click, okay? And Ellen, give me a history
Sure.
one.
So, and in 1959, Alaska and Hawaii became the 49th and 50th states. So you'd put that one on top.
Oop. Alaska and Hawaii became states, okay? And when I click a check mark, It's going to go in, and now I can raise it up, and I'm going to bring this circle back and put it right on top of the other one, so I can see what happened invention-wise and what happened historically speaking. Okay?
If you want to add a picture, you can. You're on mine. So go into Pictures and CPS and Timeline, and you'll find Barbie, if you want to just show that.
Okay. Now, if I want to edit it, all I have to do is double-click it, and it comes up. And to put an image of Barbie in, where's she?
Pictures,
In your library?
yeah, CPS, and Timeline Images.
Oh. There she is. I still have my original Barbie doll.
I had one of those.
And you can crop it, you can rotate it, you can do all kinds of stuff to it. I'm just going to say, okay. And there she is. And when I say okay, there she is in the picture. It's a vector image, so it'll scale it down.
Okay, having had some experience with Read, Write, Think,
Mm-hmm.
do they limit the amount of events?
You get this much space. How much can you cram into it? So if they limit it, you might go in 10-year or 20-year or however many events are going to happen in that spot, 100-year
Yeah.
increments.
This activity actually came from the Read, Write, Think activity, this Inventions, and they've got quite a few things in there. So the idea is that you would look at inventions and you would look at important things, events that happened in history, and you would try to make some inferences about culture, modern culture, and well, not just modern culture, but culture and society, what was going on at the time period based on those inventions and historical events. So there would be some good thinking, I think, that could happen. And then the other idea in this was that you would get students interested in nonfiction reading and in close reading of text and annotation of text, and again, using the internet. So that's, you know, those sites that we looked at for the Diego activity were sites that were recommended by Read, Write, Think for 7th grade reading. So that was the idea with this. So, you know, I think you'd be able to get pretty many in. I don't know if each of those dashes represents a placeholder.
Well, it does, but there's a limit to how many you can squeeze in. I mean,
I
you
wonder
can
if
raise,
you
can
could
raise
do a
one
second
up,
timeline, like Inventions 1, Inventions 2.
but you know, there's only so much space you have there.
Yeah,
That's the problem.
still crammed quite, okay, cool.
The other thought that Kathy and I had, because even as we were looking at this activity, we said, wow, we could, you know, we needed an hour and a half to do this in class, you know, in our session tonight. But we thought, you know, loosely speaking, you could take the historical events and you could chunk them by worksheet into 3 periods, with the last one being the more modern or contemporary period of the 3. You know, the first one being pre-World War I, you know, and the second one being, you know, between World War
Yeah.
I and World War II, and then contemporary periods.
That's what's so cool about Read, Write, Think, because you can have them save it, or they can just shoot it right to you.
Right.
What's awesome about it is when they email it, when they share it, they can write in Cookie Monster as their email, and as long as they get your email right, it doesn't matter what email they're sending it from, it doesn't check. So they don't, like, I just
Oh,
found
that's
out about
interesting.
not found out, but I just got my list of my student Gmail, Google email accounts today, and we're delving into those this week. But before then, I was panicking because I'm like, oh, maybe they don't have an email. they could type in Cookie Monster to Rewrite Think, and it'll still send you the email.
You'll
And
still
it'll
get
just
it.
say From Cookie Monster, so.
Then you have to know who that person is.
Mm-hmm.
So I clicked on save, and here you have two choices. You can either save it as a read, write, think file
And come back to it.
and come back to it, or you can send it as the read, write, think file to, and then they have to put in the email address. And I'm still amazed that it's free, but it's going to stay free on this website. I feel confident.
It's got federal funding, so.
Okay? And timelines are just, they can be used in so many different ways.
So there is a handout for the Read, Write, Think. And the other thing I wanted to mention to you is I actually refabricated the Read, Write, Think from their website handout because their links were dead. So I got new links for you. So if you do decide to do this with your students, you'll want to maybe use the one that we've got posted because their links were bad.
The one you've got posted on the digital TV.
Correct.
Yeah.
But don't blame them for links being bad. That
No,
happens
because
so
it's
often.
it just goes with the territory.
Yeah, you have to check them every time you use them because they're here today, gone tomorrow, or moved.
Use the Read, Write, Think timeline activity link on our digital teaching.
Correct,
Yep.
correct.
But what links are you talking? Oh, the web resources. It's a
Yes.
slow drive.
Yeah, and the handout that I posted there is a good handout.
Got it.
It's
Yep.
a good handout. I just redid the websites on it. So it's just page 3, I think. That's the one you have to worry about, but I redid the websites on there. So we saw a number of hands go up for Rubistar, so we thought it would make sense to do a rubric with a timeline, since that's what we were just working on. So your handout, the first page of your handout kind of talks about rubrics in general, and I don't think we need to spend a lot of time thinking about the goodness of rubrics. We probably are all on the same page that rubrics do a lot for us as teachers, but also for our students in terms of helping them to understand the levels of quality that we expect and what the assignment really is asking for, and that they can guide students' work, that we want to have students see those rubrics in advance of turning in their work, not just at the end when we evaluate it. So, some of the people who've written about rubrics really encourage us to have students help us to construct the rubric. So using Rubistar, you might even bring that rubric tool up and have your students help you to construct the rubric if you feel they're at a point where they are knowledgeable enough to help you do that. So from our website, if you go to the section called Rubistar, and you click on the Rubistar link. You do not have to have an account in Rubistar to be able to use it. The advantage of having an account is that when you do have one, you are able to store your rubrics online, and then you can simply have students access the rubric with a URL. So next time when we talk about web pages, you can embed your URL to the rubric on your web page, and students can go right there and look at the rubric, so you can eliminate a lot of the paper in that way. I like using, well, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I like using the download option for the rubric and downloading it to Excel, and I'll show you that as well. But having an account has its advantages, but we're not going to mess with that right now because we want to get into this quickly. If you follow that link and you come down to where it says create a rubric, you'll see that you've got rubrics in a bunch of different categories, I think 10 altogether, and it really doesn't matter which one of these you click on. I'm going to go ahead and click on products. We'll get to the same place. and you can use your scroll bar. Rubistar is kind of a goofy name for a really good product. It was designed by researchers at the Center for Research on Teaching and Learning at the University of Kansas. It is a tool that definitely follows what we know about research on rubrics, so it's something I think that you can trust. But if you find one of these rubric templates that doesn't work for you, the magic here is that you go in and you customize the rubric so that it does say what you want it to say. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the timeline rubric, and you'll find it under products, and it's the second to last one. And just click on timeline. The first thing we do is fill in our basic information, and you have to do that, so put your salutation in. It won't let you move forward without identifying yourself. Okay, and zip code. You may wonder why. They continue to collect data. They had a grant from the Department of Education, and even though they're now somewhat supported by advertising, they continue to get funding, and so they want to know geographically who's using this and where, and that helps them to retain their funding. So don't be afraid they're gonna, I never get any spam or crap or anything like that from Rubistar, so don't worry about that. Even if you sign up for an account, you won't get any advertisements or anything like that from them. Okay, so now we get down to the creating and editing your rubric, and you're gonna, on your handout, you're gonna see that when we talk about rubrics, we talk about dimensions and levels of quality. So the dimensions are the criteria. We think about those things that are important. So we might ask ourselves, what's important when you create a timeline? So what are some of the things that you think about when you're evaluating a timeline? What's important to you? Is it in chronological order? Absolutely. Good. What else?
Summary of the
Appropriate
events.
scale.
Appropriate scale, some good summary of events. Are the facts accurate? Okay. Is it neat and organized? Does it, you know,
Read it.
can you read it? Yeah. If you've asked for certain things like illustrations, are they there? You know, does it have the depth that you were expecting in terms of the descriptions and things like that, okay? So we first start, we pause and we say, well, what's important, okay? So we do that here too. We're gonna click on the down arrow to get the drop down, and we start looking at these different things. So we might say, all right, it's very important to me, learning of content. Let's see what that says. Okay, the student can accurately describe 75% or more of the events on the timeline, okay? We can look at some others. Readability. Okay, that's about the appearance of it. Content and facts. The facts were accurate, all right? So pick the one that you think is probably the most important. Another kind of general guideline that we use is that there is a law of diminishing returns. We don't want so many criteria in a rubric that it becomes overwhelming. So typically 5 to 6 is good. Much more than that becomes too much. So we think about that too. That's not going to be a big problem in this one, but you'll see in some of the rubrics, you've got a very long list of things that you could score your students on. All right, so let's pick one of these. I'm going to start with content and facts. Go ahead and continue using your list of what's important.
And if you don't like their text, you can delete it and write your own.
Absolutely.
But they do a really fine job of coming up with text.
Okay. So if you were going to change any of these, so maybe content and facts is just not robust enough for you, you can just go into these frames and you can edit. And you can certainly copy and paste. You know, you've got a little primitive word processor here, and you can make this text your own. So many times we have specific requirements for our assignments that other teachers don't have, and we can customize these rubrics. The other thing that maybe you want to change, some people like numeric values for the levels of quality, 4, 3, 2, 1, but other people might like word descriptions such as accomplished, okay, proficient, developing, beginning, okay? So if you'd rather have words, you can go up here and change this 4 to accomplished.
One, you suck.
Right. Okay, so when we're ready, we click on Submit down at the bottom of the page. And now we get to preview. And if we like, okay, I've got an extra one in there that I didn't mean to have. Okay, if we like what we see, we can go ahead and move on to the next step. But if we don't, we can click on Modify this rubric. Okay, so we still have a chance to go back and fix it.
So, what's the next step?
So the next step,
Goes in multiple directions.
yep, takes us all different places. You can't do the make available online unless you've signed up for an account. The account is free. I have an account. I use it all the time. I think there's nothing to fear from having an account, other than how many accounts do you want to have, right? I think I joked the first session that I've got this giant Ziploc bag with all of my accounts in my locked desk drawer. So, you know, that's the only problem with accounts, but it is a free account. So for today, what you'll need to do is click on Print or Download. And there's much to like about this option too. And Kathy's chomping at the bit. I can hear her behind me. Because I think we both like this download to Excel option.
We do, but I've actually copied it
And put it on a
and
web
put it in a
page.
web page.
Oh yeah, I like that too.
Just pasted it and kaboom, it's there.
Yeah, you can do that. So if you do
It's so
this,
easy.
save as an offline browser document.
If I copied,
I just take my mouse and I drag a highlight over all that text that was just showing. I right-click copy, I go to my website, I bring up the page where I want it, I click to edit. No, it comes in as text.
I'll show
And I
you.
right-click paste and kaboom, it's there.
Yeah, I'll show you that too. That is pretty neat.
Yeah.
So, like for
That's how
instance,
I use
one of my activities used to be a web quest, and I put the rubric for the web quest right in the page.
Yes.
You know, right on one of the pages on the evaluation page. Very easy, very nice to do. And you made it in Rubistar, and you get this nice little HTML, and you just click and drag horizontally. Control C, your shortcut command, go to your webpage, Control V, plunk it down there, save it. So we can show you that next week too, or not next week,
When we
in
do
February
webpage
when we
design.
do that.
When you do that though, because it comes in as text, you then can't adjust the size of it.
Oh, yes, you can.
It comes in as text.
Yep.
But I mean-
No, you can. It comes in as a table.
Comes in as a table.
Yep. So, one of the things that I like about the download option though is that I then use the fill to go ahead and electronically send that rubric back out to students. And that's particularly nice for me at the end of the semester. And again, I'm working with students that I may or may not see again at the end of the semester, but I email them the rubric that I filled in. So let me show you what that looks like. If I click on the Download Excel spreadsheet, and here's my rubric. And it's still downloading.
Could you copy paste it into a Google spreadsheet?
I think you could.
And so
I'd have to
basically,
try
you
that.
don't, for college, you guys don't have the kids like evaluate themselves on it. They just use it just to guide them.
Well, you could have them evaluate themselves.
Oh yeah, I use it that way too. We use it for peer review. We use it at the beginning to talk about what's important. We look at last year's projects and say, how would you rate this? And then we use it for peer review, for self-assessment, and then I use it at the end to score them. Yeah. So you get the idea. I usually put another column in for comments or put something down at the bottom, and then I save it and send it back to the student, so I don't have another piece of paper.
So I'm like trying to.
So where, is the student's paper tangible that you're looking at, or are you doing side-by-side windows?
Well, yeah, I'm usually grading electronic products, so I'm doing side-by-side windows.
Do you have any strategies? Because we have the, and I'm trying to see how I can do this, because we have Echo at our school, which is already a web base that's already built in, so it just seems so cumbersome, because you have to click on each student. I'm trying to see if there's a trick to.
Yeah, you guys are using Blackboard, right?
Our school use Echo.
Okay.
On the new tech, internet.
I haven't
It's-
seen Echo.
Yeah, it's like,
It's
it's
just
better
like
than
Blackboard,
Blackboard
but
because it
it's got a
doesn't
whole
have,
different-
because we can put grades in, the kids can see their grades. You can put assignments in, you can link documents.
It links to
So-
Power School, doesn't it, unlike Blackboard?
It doesn't link, but it has its own grading system, like we can put our grades in and it'll calculate everything. So, but we have to do 2 steps, because we have to take our grade from Echo and put it in Power
Just
School.
for midterms and final grade.
The Blackboard will do that.
Yeah.
Blackboard has a grade book.
Yeah.
Yeah, through UC, I know, as a student, I can see my grades on Blackboard.
But not for the high school.
It
It
doesn't.
should.
They do?
You go to my institution and my grades,
It should.
Yeah, yeah,
and then you can see it all on the left, I'll tell you how many points.
yeah.
It
You've
won't
earned,
break
how
it
many
down
possible
into our
those
5.
Points on every side.
The latest,
that's why
the
I'm
latest
thinking.
version lets you do inline grading too, where you can see a window and you can see the student's work and you can actually mark up the text right in there and put the grade in, which is kind of nice.
Because right now, we don't have that up.
Yeah.
What do you mean markup?
And we try not to.
You can add comments and,
On your on the paper.
like for written work.
Ego
Yes.
in
Yes.
Blackboard.
Yes.
So you can.
Yeah, for
actually
papers,
grade not
you
just
can
get
do
the
that,
grade, but
yeah.
then see why they got the grade.
Nice.
You can still write comments in the comments box right now, but you can't do it on top of it.
Correct.
Yeah, this is the newer, like the upgrade or update, but you can write it right on the paper. Like, you can circle things and highlight.
Districts have to do an update?
Yeah, I guess. I'm sorry.
It's not like I can do it individually on mine.
I probably shouldn't have mentioned it, I'm sorry. But
No,
it's
but that's
nice.
good to know,
It
but
makes it makes a big difference,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's coming.
Yeah, makes a
It's
big
coming.
difference.
Not
Because
as fast
sometimes
as
you
you'd
can put the
like.
comment and they still don't understand what you mean if you
So is
can't.
Christmas.
Because like number 1, or when you did this up here, yeah.
I'm
I was
very.
surprised how quickly they got Facebook fixed, because we've been complaining about it.
Okay, so the HTML part, I think we'll wait and do that when we do the, we'll come back to that. Okay, let's move to the next part. Ready?
Which is,
Okay.
watch your foot, because you're
Because I'm
wrapped
tangled.
around that cord.
Okay, yeah.
I'm afraid you
Okay,
could take the
so
whole
let's-
thing down.
Yeah, that could happen.
We're trying to put the car together while we're driving it. You know how well that works.
But everybody does it that way.
I know. I think that
Okay, so concept mapping. Did you want
Yeah,
to
it's
come back to Google
monstrous.
Draw, or can we go right to Poplet?
You can go right to Poplar.
Okay, so guys, you have a link to Poplet. And Poplet is another one that, you can sign up for. You can have you can get Poplet in different ways. There's a Poplet extension, which I think Kathy showed you last time. So when you're in Google Drive, you can put the Poplet extension in so that you can put Poplets into your Google Docs. You can also use Poplet on the web by itself, and you can sign up for an account to do that. Students can have up to 5 Poplets at a time, so with a free account. So if you've got more than 5, just get rid of one and you can make a new one. Okay, so that would be how you could continue to use it free. Concept mapping tools, there are a lot of far more sophisticated tools than Poplet, but what I like about Poplet is how very easy it is to use. So you've got a link in here to Poplet,
And free.
and it's right in there, the Poplet activity. If you go ahead and click on that, it will take you to it, and just click OK to get past that. Now, the nice thing here is that your instructions for using it are sitting right next to you, and you can keep that up while you're working if you want, or I'll guide you through. Okay, so it's up to you. I'm going to X out of this because it's to me it's just annoying, but you can leave it there if you want it. Okay, you double click anywhere, and you're going to bring up your first Poplet. Okay, and so it says your name. It doesn't mean literally Ellen. It means what you want to name. Yes, what you want to name this symbol. Okay, so I'm going to name this symbol Modern Inventions. Okay, now there's lots of things that we can do with our Poplet. And they're all around the outside of the Poplet. Okay, so we can change the color of the Poplet in the lower left-hand corner. Black is the default. We can go through the rainbow of colors there and get it to a color that we like. Okay, we can also change the color of the text, or the size of the text, or how the text is laid out. The default is centered, but we can make it left or right justified. We can draw inside of the Poplet, and this is kind of like drawing on icing on a cake. Very hard for me to do. I don't, you can use your fingers on your tablets, and so you
And that's
might
hard too.
have better luck with that. But this would be where you could draw and decorate the cake. Okay, and the last thing that you can do is add media. I just put a YouTube video in there, and the cool thing about this, if you were able to advocate for yourselves and get that to happen, is that you can then play that video right out of your Poplet.
Sometimes you have to see what the capability is to then have the ammunition to go back and lobby for it.
To make it happen. And it looks like it's acting a little bit slow and fudgy, but I promise you it worked beautifully for me last week. It does work. So it'll play, it does work beautifully. Our network is a little bit fudgy, and I think there's something in the middle there, tiny itsy bitsy arrow that's not showing up right. But it will play right out of your Poplet button. So you can see that if you were, like one way you can use concept maps with your students is to outline for them at the beginning of a unit what they're going to be covering. See this little arrow in the lower right-hand corner?
Got it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So that'll stretch it for you, okay? Now, these little nodes, okay, that are on each of the, kind of in the center of each of the sides,
North, south, east, west.
yep, when you click on a node, you'll get another poplet. And so that's how you will continue to add poplets. Once you have your poplet created, you're asking what can you do with it?
Yeah, where do I put it?
Well, it's a concept map, so you can save it for viewing online. You can also export it.
So I was thinking of it as like a footnote or an aside, not as the actual.
Brainstorming, isn't it?
It's a brainstorming tool. Concept mapping can be used for, you can use concept maps for cause and effect. You can use concept maps to show the attributes of something. So like a character map, you can use them to show the sequence of something. Well, that would be like
To
a
web out a
timeline.
story.
So I just zoomed that so that you can see that if my map starts to get unwieldy, starts to get very, very large, I can zoom out to continue working with it. But for brainstorming, so if we're looking at project ideas, or if we're trying to quickly get a bunch of ideas up, teacher could facilitate and a student could be running Poplet, right? So there are lots of different ways to use this.